about is the gaps in the regulations and the fact that many of the banks did not engage in subprime lending. One thing that we were, I won't say misled by, but we did talk to several large banks, and they said we're not doing subprime lending, but their unregulated affiliates were. And so I think it's one of the things important about any bank reform is that we do close those gaps in regulation. And if a regulated institution is going to buy an unregulated affiliate, which can engage in all sorts of risky behavior, and I don't mind risky behavior unless you're going to bail folks out. But, you know, that obviously is problematic. So I think had we passed in 2005, which some of us proposed, that we license and register all mortgage brokers, we would at least solve some of the later problems that we see because there was a lot of fraud. My second comment, Mr. Hoyt, I want to convey my appreciation to Wells Fargo for your purchase of Wachovia, which included South Trust Bank in Birmingham, Alabama, one of the largest banks. You did so at 3 times the purchase price that the federal regulators had engineered and agreed to by Citi, and you did so without any federal loan guarantees. And that's something that's never really been looked into. Would be an interesting hearing for this committee, that the federal regulators actually came to an agreement to sell a bank for basically a third, as they were liquidating a third of it, of what Wells came in and offered, and then you did so without any federal guarantees. And that I commend you, but boy, that's really troubling, that whole deal. And then I think Wells was threatened with a lawsuit for, quote, interfering with that federally insured purchase. So I do appreciate that. A lot of people in Alabama ended up with 3 times as much money in their pockets as they would have. They still took a tremendous loss. I thank you for that. And I thank all the members of the panel for their attendance today. And we are, obviously, the country's in a difficult economic atmosphere. And one thing we hadn't mentioned, but as we move forward, I do think that in many cases, attempts by this Congress and even the regulators to micromanage the economy and institutions has been counterproductive, because banks are going to make decisions that they think are best for themselves and their customers, and are only going to loan money when they think there's a promise of being repaid, which is good for both the banks and the lenders. And I think we're going to see some unintended consequences of some of these. Not only have we seen it from the TARP thing, where we put all sorts of restrictions on it and made it pretty unbearable, but we're seeing it maybe from the credit card legislation. And depending on what we pass, what the Senate sends back to the House and was passed on financial regulation, I think you're going to see that the Congress may do more harm than good, which is often the case. But I do appreciate your attendance and wish you well, because the viability and the strength of the financial industry is essential for a properly functioning economy. So thank you.
I'd like to thank and echo the ranking members' comments, and to thank all of you for being here. We are sorry we didn't have a fuller panel of maybe you aren't, of people here asking you questions, but very much appreciate you being here, your thoughtful comments, and I would ask unanimous consent that all members have 30 legislative days to submit statements and other extraneous material for the record. With that, thank you all again. The hearing is adjourned.